Howdy, it's Kyle, counting down the top 25 cities for pro sports championships. With all of the videos I do talking about the economy or urban structure, something like this certainly isn't as important, but it can be a source of pride for communities. I'm going to leave a timestamp if you want to go straight to the countdown, but I wanted to do a little intro first to go over the methodology. First, I'm only counting the four main pro sports leagues in the US: Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, and NBA. I did consider Major League Soccer, but it hasn't really reached national prominence, so I'm only going with the four main leagues. And also, a city is counted for winning that championship if the team was playing there at the time. So, for example, the Braves won a World Series while playing in Milwaukee. That will count with Milwaukee and not with Atlanta. And I am considering Canadian cities, but only for the four American Pro Leagues. So I don't care about your Grey Cup in this video, so let's take a look at the top 25 cities for pro sports championships. Starting off tied at number 25 is Cleveland. Whenever there are cities that are tied at a ranking, I'm going to put them in the order so the one that has won the most recent championship shows up last. So Cleveland has won 3 total championships, 2 by the Indians, most recently in 1948, but the most recent one is the Cavaliers in 2016. Also tied at 25 is Newark, New Jersey. There's only one team that plays in New Jersey, the NHL's Devils, and they've won 3 Stanley Cups, most recently in 2003. The New York football teams actually play in New Jersey, but not in Newark, so I am going to include them with New York later on, but that is kind of controversial. But New Jersey, in terms of Newark itself, only the Devils play there. And the city tied at 25 with the most recent championship is Milwaukee. The Braves won a World Series while playing in Milwaukee, and the Bucks have won 2 NBA championships, most recently in 2021. Just ahead of Milwaukee at 22 is Green Bay with 4 championships. And of course, all 4 of these are for the NFL's Green Bay Packers, who have won 4 Super Bowls, most recently for the 2010 season. So you could say Wisconsin has 7 pro sports championships, and the Green Bay Packers have played a few games in Milwaukee through the years, but I do feel I had to separate the two for this list. Also tied at 22 with 4 championships is Kansas City. The Royals have won 2 World Series, and the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls, most recently in 2019. And overall, the state of Missouri had a really good pro championship run in the 2010s. And the third city tied at number 22 with 4 championships is Houston. The Rockets have won 2 NBA championships, and the Astros have won 2 World Series, most recently in 2022, which was their first legitimate World Series championship. One of 3 cities tied at 19 with 5 championships is Cincinnati. The only team that has won a championship there are the Reds, who have won 5 World Series, most recently in 1990. Of all the cities on this list, Cincinnati is the one that has the furthest back most recent championship. I was a kid when the Reds won that World Series. Also tied at 19 with 5 championships is San Antonio. It's home to only one team, the NBA Spurs, but they've won 5 championships, most recently in 2014. I like it when a city only has one team, and that one team is one of the more model franchises for that league. And of the 3 cities ranked at number 19, the one with the most recent championships is Tampa. And the Tampa teams have done really well recently, with the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl after the 2020 season, and the NHL's Lightning winning back-to-back Stanley Cups in 2020 and 21. Coming in at number 18 with 6 championships is Denver. All of Denver's championships have been within the past 30 years. The Broncos have won 3 Super Bowls, most recently after the 2015 season, and the NHL's Avalanche have won 3 Stanley Cups, and at the time of me recording this, are the defending Stanley Cup champions. There are 5 teams ranked at number 13 with 7 championships. The first is Minneapolis. Of the 7 championships for Minneapolis, 5 are with the Lakers before they moved to Los Angeles, the most recent one in 1954. And the baseball Twins have won 2 World Series, most recently in 1991. So the Twin Cities are in a bit of a sports drought right now. And kind of like Cincinnati, I was a kid when the Twins won that last World Series. Also with 7 championships is Baltimore. This is the first city on this list that has 2 teams from one sport winning championships. They've had 3 Super Bowl champions, 1 with the Baltimore Colts before they moved to Indianapolis, and 2 with the Ravens, most recently in 2012. The NBA's Bullets won a championship there back when they were in Baltimore before they moved to Washington and then changed their name to the Wizards. And baseball's Orioles have won 3 World Series, most recently in 1983. Also tied at number 13 with 7 championships is Dallas. The Cowboys have won 5 Super Bowl championships, most recently following the '95 season. The NBA Mavericks have won 1 championship in 2011, and the NHL's Dallas Stars won 1 Stanley Cup in '99. Also tied at number 13 with 7 championships is Miami. The NFL Dolphins won 2 Super Bowls in the early '70s. Baseball's Marlins have won 2 World Series, most recently in '03, back when they were called the Florida Marlins. And the Heat have won 3 NBA championships, most recently in 2013. And the final city with 7 championships is Washington, D.C. The Washington Senators won a World Series. This team went on to become the Minnesota Twins, and the Washington Nationals won a World Series in 2019, which is their city's most recent championship. The Washington Redskins, now Commanders, have won 3 Super Bowls. The Bullets won an NBA championship after moving from Baltimore to Washington and before changing their name to the Wizards. And the Capitals won a Stanley Cup in 2018. Coming in at number 12 with 9 championships is San Francisco. The 49ers won 5 Super Bowls between the '80s and '90s. The Giants won 3 World Series in the early 2010s, most recently in 2014. And the Golden State Warriors have won 1 NBA championship since moving to San Francisco a couple of years ago. Interestingly enough, right ahead of San Francisco at number 11 with 10 championships is Oakland. The Raiders won 2 Super Bowls while playing in Oakland. This is before they moved to Los Angeles, before moving back to Oakland, and now they play in Las Vegas. The Oakland A's have won 4 World Series, most recently in 1989, and the Golden State Warriors won 4 NBA championships while playing in Oakland, most recently in 2018, which is the year before they moved across the bay to San Francisco. Kicking off the top 10 with 13 championships is Philadelphia. For baseball, the Braves have won 2 World Series when playing in Philadelphia, and the Phillies have won 5, most recently in '08. The NHL Flyers won 2 Stanley Cups in the '70s, and the NBA 76ers have won 3 championships, most recently in 1983. And the most recent championship for the city are the Eagles, who won the Super Bowl after the 2017 season. At number 9 with 14 championships is St. Louis. Most of these are with the baseball Cardinals, who have won 11 World Series. The NBA Hawks won a championship in 1958, but they've been in Atlanta for the past 50 years. The Rams won a Super Bowl while playing in St. Louis after the 1999 season. And the city's most recent championship is in 2019 with the NHL Blues winning the Stanley Cup. Tied at number 7 with 16 championships is Pittsburgh. And the championships are spread around pretty evenly in Pittsburgh. The Pirates have 5 World Series championships, most recently in 1979. The Steelers have won 6 Super Bowls, most recently after the 2008 season. And the NHL Penguins have won 5 Stanley Cups, most recently in 2017. And I would say the Steelers, maybe along with the Packers, are the only teams in the NFL where you can go anywhere in the country. You can find a bar that's taken over by fans of that team. You can be in Des Moines, Iowa, and I guarantee you there's a Pittsburgh Steelers bar there. Also at number 7 with 16 championships is Toronto, Ontario. Of those 16, 13 are Stanley Cup championships with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the most recent one is 1967. However, the baseball Blue Jays won back-to-back World Series in the early 90s, and the most recent champions are the Raptors, who won the NBA championship in 2019. But it's been 55 years since the Leafs won a cup. At number 6 with 18 championships is Detroit. Another NHL-dominated city, the Red Wings have won 11 Stanley Cups, most recently in 2008, which is also the city's most recent championship. The Detroit Pistons have won 3 NBA championships, most recently in 2004. And the Tigers have won 4 World Series, most recently in 1984. Getting into the top 5 with 19 championships is Chicago. Fairly well-rounded here, 6 World Series championships, 3 each for the Cubs and White Sox. The most recent one for the city is the 2016 Cubs World Series championship. The NHL Blackhawks have won 6 Stanley Cups, most recently in 2015. For the NFL, the Bears have won 1 Super Bowl championship following the '85 season. And the NBA Bulls have won 6 championships, most recently in 1998. Coming in tied at number 3 is Montreal. 22 championships, all of them are with the NHL's Canadiens for Stanley Cups, most recently in 1993. And in fact, the '93 Canadiens were the last NHL team from Canada that actually won a Stanley Cup. Also at number 3 with 22 championships is Los Angeles. The Dodgers have won 6 World Series while playing in Los Angeles, most recently in 2020. The Raiders won 1 Super Bowl while playing in Los Angeles following the 1983 season. And the most recent championship for the city is the NFL Rams, who at the time of me recording this are defending Super Bowl champions. The NHL Kings won 2 Stanley Cups in the early 2010s, the most recent one in 2014. But the team that has won the most championships for Los Angeles is the NBA Lakers. They've won 12 NBA championships since playing in Los Angeles, most recently in 2020. At number 2 with 38 championships is Boston. Baseball's Red Sox have won 9 World Series, most recently in 2018. The NFL Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls, most recently following the 2018 season. The NHL Bruins have won 6 Stanley Cups, most recently in 2011. But just like Los Angeles, the team that's won the most is the NBA team. The Celtics have 17 championships. The Celtics are the winningest team in NBA history, and the most recent championship is in 2008. And because all of the Boston teams are usually pretty good, I think they're the most hated sports city in the country outside of New England. And no surprise, coming in at number 1 with 50 championships is New York. And yes, they do have the most number of teams, and most of them have been around for a long time, but still 50 championships is well above second place, which is well above third place. Of the 50 championships, 27 are with baseball's Yankees, most recently in 2009. Crosstown, the Mets have 2 World Series, most recently in 1986. Before moving to San Francisco, the baseball New York Giants won 5 World Series, and before moving to Los Angeles, the Brooklyn Dodgers won 1. For NFL, the Giants have won 4 Super Bowls and the Jets have won 1, although as I mentioned earlier in the video, they actually do play across the river in New Jersey. So it's a tough call on that one, but even if you take away these 5 Super Bowl championships, New York still has by far the most. For NBA, the New York Knickerbockers have won 2 championships, most recently in 1973. For the NHL, the Rangers have won 4 Stanley Cups, most recently in 94. And the Islanders won 4 Stanley Cups in a row between 1980 and 83. And yes, the Islanders do play just outside of the city limits of New York, but I'm still counting it. So Boston, even if I remove the 5 Super Bowl championships that were actually in New Jersey and the 4 Islanders championships that are not in the city itself, they still beat you 41-38. So that's the countdown of the top 25 cities for pro sports championships, and there is a little bit of a correlation between the cities that are the largest and the ones that have had teams for the longest period of time having the most championships. But with cities like Oakland, Denver, San Antonio, and Tampa having more championships than Kansas City, Milwaukee, or Indianapolis, that isn't the only thing going on. So bigger cities do have more teams, and older cities have had teams for longer, but some of these newer teams and some of these smaller towns have been doing quite well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve, and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in learning more about U.S. geography. I'm talking about cities and states, and usually things more serious and nerdy than this, but yeah, thanks for watching. Geography King, signing out. I'd like to give a special thanks to my superior patrons for their support, especially Holly and John. So if you're interested in supporting the channel or to purchase a pin for the viewer wall map, check out my Patreon page, link in the description. And as always, thank you very much.